I got signal. Oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
This I would actually date mid-1700s to late 1700s.
That could be pre-searcher.
This would be pre-searcher.
It demonstrates wealth, nobility.
Wow.
Some prominent person was on Oak Island pre-money pit.
Yeah.
That's great.
Generations of searchers have been defeated by Oak Island's legendary traps and tunnels. Now, the current fellowship believes they found the key. A newly discovered channel buried for centuries in the island's swamp was revealed in a stunning new episode. This isn't just a random find, it's an engineered structure that points to a grand, deliberate plan, and it has everyone asking the same question. What were they trying to protect? The swamp gives up a secret. The wait is finally over. For anyone who has followed the twisting, often heartbreaking story of Oak Island, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. The mystery, a puzzle that has captivated people for over 2 centuries, just took its most dramatic turn yet. In a nail-biting episode of The Curse of Oak Island that aired on March 11, 2025, the Fellowship of the Dig found something in the swamp that could change everything we thought we knew. This isn't just some other old coin or a stray piece of wood. This is evidence of a massive hidden structure that shines a brand new light on who built the Oak Island mystery and why. The big change didn't come from a shovel digging in the money pit or a drill biting deep into the earth. No, this time the breakthrough happened in the murky, strange, triangle-shaped swamp.
I do believe with 100% certainty that it's worth some commitment of ours. Not only is this relevant, but is it accurate?
For years, this soggy piece of land has been a source of deep curiosity, a place suspected of holding the most important clues. In Season 12, Episode 15, called Channeling the Solution, the team decided to put all their energy into this waterlogged area. They brought in the best technology they had, mixing it with good old-fashioned grit and determination. Now get this, the swamp has coughed up some amazing things before. We've seen old wooden structures, tools from centuries ago, and even tiny bits of gold and silver. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared the team for what they stumbled upon this time. The episode kicked off with the crew using super advanced ground penetrating radar, or GPR, along with special environmental sampling tools. Geoscientist Dr. Ian Spooner was leading the charge, hoping to create a map of what lay beneath all that mud and water. The main theory has always been that the swamp itself isn't natural, that someone long ago built it or changed it. On a cold March day, as the team scanned the ground, the GPR equipment let out a signal that made everyone freeze. The data popping up on the screen showed a long, straight line, an anomaly that suggested a channel or some kind of structure built on purpose.
Except that they get all artifacts. And an artifact is virtually anything. Artifact means man-made.
It was buried just a few feet below the swamp's surface. The signal was so clear, so perfect, that there was no denying what it was. This was not something nature made. This was something built by human hands, maybe hundreds of years ago. Back in the war room, the energy was electric. The team huddled together looking at the images. The anomaly looked like a channel, maybe 50 feet long and several feet wide. The way it was pointed suggested it could be part of a much bigger system. Maybe it connected to the island's famous flood tunnels, or maybe it was part of a secret hidden dock. Marty Lagina, his voice filled with a quiet excitement, called it a potential game changer. His brother Marty, who was always the one to ask the tough questions, wanted to be 100% sure, but even he couldn't stop a look of pure wonder from crossing his face. They checked the new data against old surveys, and archaeologists, including the sharp-eyed Laird Niven, all agreed. The find was man-made. This wasn't just a pile of rocks, it was a structure with a purpose. This incredible find raised a huge question. Could this channel be part of the very system made to protect the island's treasure? To find out, the team knew they would have to launch their biggest and riskiest dig yet, a true battle against the island itself. But digging in the swamp would be a whole different kind of monster, one that had defeated searchers before. A hidden structure. After brutal battle with the mud. Let's be clear, digging in the Oak Island swamp is a nightmare. It's a messy soup of mud, dark water, and tangled plants that makes every single step a real struggle. To get to the bottom of this new anomaly, the team had to call in the heavy hitters. That meant bringing in Billy Gerhardt and his giant excavators, along with massive steel walls called cofferdams to hold back the swamp water. The plan sounded simple, but it was incredibly hard. They would block off a section of the swamp, pump out all the water, and then start digging to uncover the channel. It was a strategy they had used before at Smith's Cove, where they found flood tunnels and box drains, but the swamp was a much tougher enemy. The ground was soft and shifty, and water was always trying to sneak back in. For weeks, the team worked from sunrise to sunset. The air was filled with the constant hum of water pumps and the loud roar of the excavator's engine. Every scoop of mud they pulled out could be the one that held the key. As they dug deeper, more clues started to appear. They found large wooden timbers. When they tested them, they found out some were from before the year 1700. This matched up with other discoveries on the island, all pointing to the fact that people were doing something big here long before the money pit was supposedly first found in 1795. Then came another classic Oak Island clue: layers of coconut fiber. Now, coconuts do not grow in Nova Scotia, not even close. This fiber has always been one of the biggest pieces of evidence that the island's story is connected to faraway places.
I've been questioning the lack of coconut fiber. At least that says, yeah, at one time there was some of this here.
Something different.
It was often used by old-time sailors to plug leaks in their ships. Finding it here in the swamp made everyone think about who could have brought it. Was it pirates, the Knights Templar, or some other group of explorers from across the sea? The tension on the island was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The swamp has a legend of fighting back against anyone who disturbs it. Old stories from locals tell of strange lights that flicker over the marsh in the dead of night, or a thick, spooky fog that rolls in without warning to hide what the searchers are doing. Even without the spooky stuff, the real dangers were enough to keep everyone on edge. The ground could shift at any moment, or a surge of water could flood the entire dig site in minutes. Still, the team pushed forward, knowing that the next scoop could either bring them the answer they'd been looking for or bury their hopes forever in the mud. At a depth of about 6 feet, the bucket of the excavator hit something hard. It wasn't a rock and it wasn't a log. It was a structure of carefully placed stones, maybe the edge of the channel they saw on the GPR. A jolt of energy shot through the whole crew. They had finally made physical contact with the mystery. This was the moment of truth. The team carefully cleared away the mud and water around the new find. What they saw made their hearts pound. It was a line of flat stones set in a pattern so straight and perfect that it had to be man-made. It looked like the foundation of a wall or the side of a channel. To get a better look in the murky, muddy water, they brought out a special piece of equipment, a high-resolution underwater camera small enough to navigate the tight spaces. The footage sent back to the surface was a little grainy, but what it showed was unbelievable. The stones did indeed form a channel-like structure. It could have been used for drainage, or maybe it was part of a hidden dock where a ship could have been brought right into the swamp. This idea got everyone excited, as they had found other ship-related artifacts nearby in the past. But then, as the camera moved slowly along the stone wall, it captured something that made everyone in the war room gasp. There, embedded in the side of the channel, was a carved stone. The carving was faint after centuries in the mud, but it was still there. It was a symbol, a cross, but not just any cross. It had unique geometric shapes and flourishes on the ends, a design that looked very similar to symbols used by the Knights Templar. The discovery sent a shockwave through the team.
Light diminishes rather rapidly. There are safety concerns, so you just have to call a halt for the day.
For years, the Knights Templar theory has been one of the most exciting and romantic ideas about Oak Island. The theory says that this medieval order of warrior monks, after they were hunted down in the year 1307, might have escaped to North America to hide their legendary treasure or sacred relics. While many serious historians think it's just a fantasy, seeing this symbol right here carved into an ancient stone structure was almost too incredible to believe. Doug Crowell, a historian who has studied the island for years, was stunned. He pointed out how much it looked like Templar symbols found in old churches and castles in Europe, but he also said they needed to be very careful and get more proof. And the stone wasn't the only thing. At the same time, Dr. Ian Spooner's analysis of the soil samples from inside the channel came back with more amazing news. The samples showed tiny traces of silver and gold. This was just like the metal traces they had found in the money pit and more recently in the garden shaft. Dr. Spooner explained that this could mean precious metals were being moved through this very channel, maybe as part of a huge operation to hide treasure. The implications were almost too much to think about. If the Templars really built this channel, it could mean that the Oak Island treasure isn't just pirate gold, it could be something much, much bigger, holy relics, ancient books, or maybe even the legendary Holy Grail itself. The find kicked off a massive debate. Was the channel a pathway to move treasure into the money pit, or was it something else entirely? Maybe a clever decoy to trick searchers? The team started calling experts in medieval history and old-time engineering. Some suggested that the structure could be part of a very smart water system, maybe one used to power the booby-trapped flood tunnels that protect the money pit. Every clue, the pre-1700 timbers, the coconut fiber, and now this Templar-like cross, was pointing to an operation on Oak Island that was older, smarter, and better planned than anyone could have imagined. But just as they were on the edge of this massive breakthrough, the island decided it was time to fight back. Whispers of the past. The carved cross threw everything into high gear. Truth be told, the Templar idea has been floating around Oak Island for ages, but it was always more of a legend than a hard fact. Now, the team had something they could see and touch. The Knights Templar were a powerful order during the Crusades. They became incredibly wealthy and are often credited with creating an early international banking system. When a powerful king and the Pope turned against them in the early 1300s, the Templars were arrested and their order was smashed. But their massive fleet of ships and much of their treasure were never found. The story goes that some knights escaped and sailed away to secret locations. Could Oak Island have been one of them? This new discovery made that old story feel very real. But the team knew they couldn't get tunnel vision. Other theories were still on the table. Could the cross be from another group?
Foster this sense of that the information hunt is indeed important.
Like early Portuguese explorers who were also known to use similar symbols? What about the wild theory that Sir Francis Bacon, the famous writer and scientist, used the island to hide secret manuscripts? The channel was a huge clue, but it was one piece of a much larger puzzle. While the historians debated, the science kept rolling in. The divers working in the dangerous murky water managed to recover another small object. It was made of lead and was heavy for its size, maybe a coin or a special token. The markings on it were almost completely worn away, but it was clearly man-made. It wasn't as exciting as a gold bar, but it was another piece of evidence suggesting people from Europe were on the island long before Columbus is said to have discovered America. The object was rushed to a lab for analysis. The first results suggested it could date back to the 14th or 15th century, a perfect match for the Templar timeline. Piece by piece, a stunning new picture of Oak Island's past was coming together. This wasn't the work of a small band of pirates burying a single treasure chest. This was a massive long-term project. The engineering needed to create the swamp channel and the flood tunnels would have taken dozens of people and incredible planning. The presence of coconut fiber suggested they were expert sailors with connections to the south. The traces of gold and silver suggested they were moving valuable items. Suddenly, the team wasn't just looking for treasure anymore. They were looking for the truth about a secret chapter of world history that played out on this tiny island in Nova Scotia. They were fired up, but they were also cautious. Oak Island has a way of giving you amazing clues that lead to more questions and dead ends. And as if on cue, just as their excitement reached its peak, a familiar enemy returned with a vengeance. What if the real treasure isn't gold, but a secret so big it had to be buried under a man-made swamp? The path is now visible, but is it an entrance or just another deadly trap? Like and subscribe for more.